in the Mississippi River below. Barb Brown has the story of the big demolition.
With this blast went a century of St. Paul history. The event was supposed to happen at noon, but because of technical problems, it was 4 hours later that the high bridge finally came down. The spectators had thinned considerably. Earlier, it looked like all of St. Paul had come to watch. While most people came out to watch a spectacular event, for some there was a personal tie.
My only interest in the bridge is that I worked on it in 1957, redecking it. So I'd like to be here and watch it come down.
He worked on it in 1957. I was 9 years old then, and I'd like to come down and see it come down. And again, we'd like to see the new one go up because it creates work for our members.
The new bridge is expected to be finished in November of '87. It would cost $40 million to reconstruct the high bridge today. The new one will cost half that. West Side businesses across the river from downtown have suffered from the lost link since the bridge closed last July because it was deemed unsafe.
I think we can consider ourselves lucky that it has served us so well for so long without any major problems.
It was built in 1889 for horses and carriages, cost nearly $500,000, causing political havoc. In 1899, the center was found to be slipping off its foundation, and repairs were done secretly for $200. In 1904, 180-mile-an-hour winds destroyed the south end. The damaged section was replaced with steel, and that part deteriorated the most.
The closer we got to replacing the bridge, it seemed like the more people started to remember and talk about it and remember how well it's served us for all these years. So.
With photographer Bob Fishnick, Barb Brown, WCCO Television News, St. Paul.
And as Barb mentioned, the demolition took place nearly 4 hours later than first planned and scheduled, and that meant a long wait for a restless crowd. It caused a massive traffic jam in St. Paul and a number of other problems as well. Trish Van Pilsen is in our St. Paul Bureau with the latest on that angle. Trish?
Well, Mike, some said today they'd never seen so many people at once in downtown St. Paul. Police estimate there were 25,000 people there shortly after noon, all of them competing for a limited supply of good spots. They lined the streets and packed the bridges, so many of them, in fact, that police had to close part of Shepherd and Water Streets and the Wabasha Bridge. It was a traffic cop's nightmare.
Because there was such a large amount of people, and that trying to make sure nobody gets hit is really hard because they don't want to listen. You know, they've been very patient and that, and I think they sort of lost it.
And it was just as bad for those who had the misfortune to have business to do in St. Paul this afternoon.
Side streets and the main through streets, they're all real bad.
But the traffic and the crowds thinned as delay after delay discouraged even some of the most resolute would-be spectators.
We gave up. We waited for the last 3 warnings and we're ready to go home now, so I'll watch it on the news.
Only the most determined, or perhaps the most warmly dressed, stuck it out.
It's been a very long wait.
You think it's going to be worth it?
Yes. Yes, very definitely.
And for those who waited, it was.
It was really cool after it just fell in the waters. Never seen anything like it.
I've never seen anything like it. It was worth waiting 3 hours, though. I'm sorry, 3 hours and 45 minutes.
I've been living in Minnesota now for 8 years, and at least I went over it before she disappeared. But I'm sorry to see it go.
And they wanted to see that monument die. Mike?
Okay, thank you, Trish, reporting live. Demolition, we're not happy at all to see it go, as we've heard. The high bridge closing has, in a sense, isolated this west side neighborhood, making it difficult for residents to get to work and almost impossible for some area businesses to survive.
The traffic around here is terrible, and going across the bridge, you have to go through downtown, and morning traffic going to work is, especially when the roads are slippery and icy in the wintertime, it's terrible. It's really bad.
And it's a sad thing that we weren't informed like a year or so before the bridge was closed. Like on a Monday, they told us the bridge was going to be closed, and it was closed like on a Wednesday. You know, and just everything on Smith Avenue just went dead.
The high bridge was the link between the west side and the downtown area. Now that the bridge is closed, the once busy business district along Smith Avenue resembles a ghost town. The business owners have mixed reactions. Some have been forced to leave, but others say they have close ties to the area and they don't want to abandon their west side neighborhood.
We feel that the neighborhood needs more business, and we can keep our business up just by the neighborhood. Everybody's leaving. They can't be left with nothing.
A footnote here, the city of St. Paul does plan to replace the high bridge, but until then, Smith Avenue business can only hope for the best. And it's...
As awesome as we'd expected. The biggest concern was that we figured that after sitting here this long, we'd be turning around or talking and having a good time and I go, but no way you're going to miss something like that. It was great.
I loved it. It was great. I loved it. It was worth the 5 hours we've been here waiting for it, too.
The Harriet Island crowd may have been a little too close to the blast. This 5-inch piece of shrapnel landed in the snow where over 1,000 people were standing.
It was really weird. It just came like a rocket straight in.
The bridge collapse was indeed a spectacular view. Here's how it looked from the 5 locations where Eyewitness News photographers caught the blast.
Nice pictures there.
Good evening. Topping News 11 tonight, about 3.5 seconds. That's what it took to demolish 95 years of history in St. Paul today.
With the push of a button, the St. Paul High Bridge exploded into the Mississippi River.
News 11's Adelaide Stevenson was on the scene with thousands of others when the bridge hit the water.
For nearly a century, St. Paul's High Bridge has spanned the Mississippi River, a vital link between the city's east and west sides. Thousands of spectators lined the riverbank to witness its spectacular, explosive demolition. Delays pushed the timetable back 4 hours, but when the charges were fired, the spans and towers rising 100 feet into the air suddenly disappeared in a huge clap of thunder.
I thought it was exciting, extremely exciting. A little fast, but exciting.
I'd love to see it again. I'd come here tomorrow. I love that old bridge.
It took only 125 pounds of explosives to turn 1,500 tons of steel into this. The transformation seemed to take place almost instantly. In fact, it took weeks of preparation.
The nice thing about this type of work is you work for weeks or for months on the design and it's all over within seconds, and it's instant gratification. You know if you're right on the money or not right away, but yeah, it's fun.
A small team of experts climbed high atop the bridge to place 180 separate charges in 22 locations. They used a form of plastic explosives wrapped in copper. The shape of the charge focuses the blast on a small area, slamming copper against steel under tremendous pressure. This shrapnel effect actually cuts the bridge apart. Later, the curious climbed through the twisted rubble, taking with them bits and pieces of the city's past. For something that stood so long on the city's horizon, it fell quickly and gracefully back to earth. The experts say it just needed a push in the right direction. Adlai Stevenson, News 11, St. Paul.
Well, besides that loud, thunderous boom, the demolition of High Bridge also brought on the sounds of honking horns.
Thousands turned out to watch the demolition, and with them came major traffic tie-ups. Police were kept busy keeping all the explosion watchers in line. The crowds turned a quick 2-mile trip into a 40-minute marathon. But there were no real problems. Melissa Young reports that the crowd just added to the spirit of the day.
They lined fences and walls, boxcars, streets, anywhere there was a clear view of the High Bridge.
After all, it's not every day a 95-year-old landmark tumbles into the river, at least not on purpose. Many remember what the bridge has meant to St. Paul.
Shucks, I've walked across the thing and ridden a bicycle across it and driven across it. I hated to see anything happen to it, but at the same time, thank God that it didn't fall with people on it, and it could have.
But quickly the noon blast time became 1:30, then 2, 2:30, then who knows when. But the hardiest of bridge watchers took the delays in stride.
I have to go home and get a sleeping bag and a tent, but I'm committed now. I've been in 3 different locations. This is the best vantage point I've had, and I'm not going to give it up.
Finally, at 4, it came, and though the thousands were now only hundreds, the thrill was not lost. And while some were disappointed,
yeah, it wasn't worth it.
Most said they wouldn't have missed it.
I thought it was beautiful.
Neat. Good.
I don't know if I got a picture even. I might have missed it.
A historic past is now a demolished future. But for most of those who stuck it out today, the High Bridge will always be a fond memory. Melissa Young, News 11, St. Paul.
Also in St. Paul tonight, police